She's ignoring your texts, seeing your messages, not responding. You're watching her move on like you never mattered. And here you are, wondering if you were even a good man to begin with. Let me tell you something most women won't admit out loud. That silence. That distance. It's not the end of your story with her. It's the beginning of hers with regret. Because there are 4 random moments coming in her life where it's gonna hit her like a truck that she lost someone irreplaceable. I'm not talking about some fantasy where she comes crawling back. I'm talking about real psychological moments that happen to women after they take a good man for granted. When she sees you thriving. When her new guy doesn't measure up. When life gets hard and she realizes you were her stability. And when she's alone at a milestone that you should have been part of. And here's what matters. These moments are going to happen, whether you're thinking about her or not. This isn't about waiting around. It's about understanding that your value was always real, she just couldn't see it until it was too late. Now, before we go deeper, I need to say this isn't about revenge. This isn't me feeding you some fantasy where she comes crying back and you get to reject her. That's not what this is about. This is about understanding female psychology so you can stop second-guessing yourself. So you can stop wondering if you were good enough, if you did something wrong, if maybe you should have tried harder. The truth is, most women don't realize what they have in the moment. They only see it clearly when it's gone. And I'm gonna show you exactly when those realizations hit. Not so you can manipulate her into coming back, but so you understand that your value was real. Whether she saw it at the time or not. So why does this happen? Why do women take good men for granted in the first place? It comes down to how women process value. When you're there, consistent, reliable, emotionally available, it becomes background noise. It's not exciting. It's not dramatic. It just is. And in a world where women are constantly told they can do better, where every dating app promises someone more attractive, more successful, more exciting just a swipe away, the good man who's actually present starts to feel like settling. She doesn't sit there thinking, I'm taking him for granted. She's thinking, there has to be something better than this. She compares you to some imaginary version of a relationship she's built in her head from movies, from social media, from her friends' highlight reels. And you, the real person actually showing up every day, can't compete with a fantasy. Here's where most men mess up. They sense her pulling away, and they respond by trying harder. More texts, more attention, more explanations, more effort. And every bit of that desperation confirms in her mind that she was right, that you're not the high-value man she thought you were. But here's what she doesn't realize in that moment. The man she's comparing you to doesn't exist. And the new guys who seem more exciting, they're about to teach her exactly why you were different. And that brings us to the 4 moments. I'm going to walk you through exactly when this realization hits her. These aren't vague possibilities. These are specific psychological triggers that make women suddenly see what they gave up. First, when she sees you thriving without her. Second, when her new situation doesn't measure up to what she had with you. Third, when life gets hard and your stability is gone. And fourth, when she hits a milestone and realizes you're not there. Each one reveals something crucial about how women process regret. Let's start with the first one. Moment number 1. When she sees you thriving without her. This is the moment she checks your social media. And let's be honest, she will, and realizes you're not falling apart. You're not posting sad quotes. You're not clearly miserable. You're just living. Maybe better than before. Here's what triggers the regret. It's not that you're out there flexing with a new car or showing off at the gym. That would actually make her feel better because she could dismiss it as you trying too hard. What really gets to her is when you look genuinely fine, when your energy has shifted, when it's clear you've moved on emotionally, not just physically. Because in her mind, she expected a different reaction. She expected you to chase, to fight for her, to show her how much losing her destroyed you. And when you don't, when you just let her go and keep moving forward, it creates this psychological dissonance she can't shake. There's actual psychology behind this. It's called loss aversion. When something is readily available, we don't value it highly. But the moment it becomes unavailable, our brain suddenly assigns it more worth. You were available when she had you. Now you're not. And that shift in availability is what triggers the regret. She starts to question everything. Wait, was he actually that good? Why isn't he broken? Did he not care as much as I thought? Or did I mess up worse than I realized? And here's the kicker. The less you react, the more she spirals. Every day you don't reach out is another day her brain has to sit with the possibility that she made a mistake. That maybe you weren't the problem. That maybe she gave up something real. Now, I want to be clear about what thriving actually means here. It's not about revenge posts or fake happiness. It's about genuine indifference. It's about your life actually getting better because you're no longer pouring energy into someone who didn't value it. When she sees that authentic shift, that's when it hits. Because here's what women understand on a deep level. A man who can walk away and be genuinely okay without her is rare. Most men chase, most men beg, most men make her the center of their world even when she's pulled away. But a man who can just let go, that's a man who knows his value. And that's exactly the kind of man women realize they shouldn't have lost. So when she sees you thriving, when she sees that you didn't need her validation to be okay, that's when the regret starts to creep in. Not because you're trying to make her jealous, but because your absence is showing her something she refused to see when you were present. That you were actually valuable all along. But that's just the surface trigger. Wait until you hear what happens when she actually tries to replace you. Moment number 2. When she compares her new situation to what she had with you. This is where the regret gets real. Because seeing you move on is one thing, but experiencing what comes after you, that's when the lesson really lands. She starts dating again. Maybe she meets someone new who seems exciting at first. Maybe she's back on the apps, scrolling through options, feeling like she made the right choice. But then something shifts. Because every new guy gets measured against the standard you set, and most of them don't measure up. Here's what she starts to notice. The new guy doesn't text back as consistently. His effort is sporadic. He's hot and cold, interested one day, distant the next. And suddenly she remembers how you were always there, how she never had to question where she stood with you. Or maybe the new guy is available, but he doesn't get her the way you did. He doesn't remember the little things. He doesn't notice when she's off. He doesn't ask the questions you used to ask. And she realizes that emotional availability, the things she took for granted with you, is actually rare. Or maybe the new guy is exciting, but there's no depth. It's all surface-level attraction and chemistry, but when she tries to have a real conversation, when she needs actual support, he's not equipped for it. And that's when she remembers what substance actually feels like. See, this is the comparison trap that women fall into after they let good men go. They think the grass is greener. They think there's someone better waiting. But what they discover is that excitement fades and chemistry burns out, and what's left is whether someone actually shows up for you. Whether they're consistent, whether they give a damn. And here's the brutal part. She can't say any of this out loud. She can't tell her friends, I think I messed up. The new guy isn't as good as my ex. Because that would mean admitting she was wrong. That would mean admitting that the man she walked away from was actually the better option. So she sits with it silently. Every mediocre date is a reminder. Every guy who doesn't meet the standard becomes proof that maybe she had it good and didn't realize it. The psychology here is simple but powerful. We don't know what we have until we compare it to something worse. When you were there, she didn't have a frame of reference. Now she does. And every comparison makes you look better in hindsight. This is the moment when I can do better turns into I had better and I let him go. And that realization, it stings in a way that doesn't go away. But wait until you see what happens when life actually gets difficult for her. Moment number 3. When life gets hard and your stability is gone. And this is the big one, the moment that cuts the deepest. See, when things are going well, when life is easy, a woman can convince herself she made the right choice. She can rationalize it. She can focus on surface-level things like excitement and chemistry and new experiences. But when life actually gets difficult, that's when she realizes what she really lost. Maybe she loses her job. Maybe a family member gets sick. Maybe she goes through a health scare. Maybe it's something smaller, a bad week, a string of disappointments, just life piling on the way it does sometimes. And in that moment of vulnerability, in that moment when she actually needs someone solid, she remembers you. She remembers how you showed up when things got hard. How you didn't panic. How you didn't make her problems about you. How you were just there, steady, grounded, safe. And now, that safety net is gone. Because the new guy, if there even is one, doesn't provide that. He's not equipped for it. He doesn't have that emotional capacity. Or maybe he does, but he's not invested enough yet to step up. Either way, she's facing this difficult moment alone in a way she never had to when you were around. This is where the regret becomes visceral. It's not intellectual anymore. It's not about comparing traits on paper. It's about feeling the absence of something essential. It's about realizing that the man she took for granted was the one who actually made her feel secure. Here's what I need you to understand, because we're deep into this now, and it matters. Women don't always recognize masculine value in the moment. Stability feels boring when life is stable. Consistency feels unexciting when everything is consistent. But when chaos hits, when uncertainty creeps in, that's when a woman realizes that the man who could handle pressure, who could be her anchor, was actually the most valuable thing she had. And here's the brutal truth most women won't say out loud. By the time this moment hits, it's usually too late. Because good men don't wait around. Good men don't hold space indefinitely for someone who didn't value them. Good men move on. And when she reaches for that stability and realizes it's not there anymore, that you're not there anymore, it hits her like a freight train. She'll think about specific moments. Times when you showed up for her. Times when you made things easier. Times when your presence alone was enough to make her feel like everything would be okay. And now she's in crisis. And the person who could have helped her through it is gone. By her choice. That realization, that she traded security for uncertainty, that she gave up her anchor because she didn't think she needed one. That's the moment the regret becomes undeniable. That's the moment she realizes what good man actually meant. But there's still one more moment that haunts women even more than crisis. And it's the quiet one, the milestone moment when you're just not there anymore. Moment number 4. When she hits a milestone and you're not there. This one is different from crisis. Crisis is loud and immediate. Milestones are quiet, but they hit just as hard. Maybe even harder, because they're the moments that are supposed to be happy. She gets a promotion at work. She turns 30. She's at a wedding, watching another couple celebrate. She's at a family event where everyone's asking about her relationship status. She accomplishes something she's been working toward for years. And in that moment of achievement, in that moment that should feel triumphant, She feels the absence of someone who should have been there to share it with her. Because here's the thing about milestones. They make us reflect. They make us take inventory of our lives. They make us ask, who am I sharing this with? Who cares about this accomplishment besides me? And when a woman hits one of these moments and realizes the person who would have genuinely cared, who would have been proud of her, who would have celebrated with her, that person is you, and you're gone. The regret is crushing. She imagines what it would have been like if you were still there, how you would have reacted, what you would have said, how you would have made her feel seen and valued in that moment. And then she looks around at her current reality. Maybe she's alone. Maybe she's with someone who doesn't really get the significance. Maybe she's surrounded by people who are happy for her but don't know her the way you did. And the gap between what she has and what she could have had becomes painfully clear. This is where the timeline regret sets in. She starts thinking, we could have been at this stage by now. If I hadn't walked away, if I had just appreciated what I had, we could be building something real together. And it's not just about missing you in that moment. It's about mourning the future she gave up. Here's what makes this particularly haunting. Milestones keep happening. It's not one moment of regret and then it's over. Every birthday, every achievement, every family gathering, every life event becomes a reminder. Every time she hits one of these moments without you there, she's forced to remember that she chose this. That she had someone who would have been there, and she let him go. And often, this is the moment when women reach back out. When they send the text. When they try to reconnect. Because the accumulation of these milestone moments, the weight of all these you should have been here realizations, becomes too much to sit with silently. But here's what you need to understand about all four of these moments. And this is the part that's going to change how you see this entire situation. Her realization changes nothing if she hasn't changed. Let me be blunt about this, because you need to hear it. Just because she realizes she lost a good man, doesn't mean you should take her back. Just because she experiences these four moments, doesn't mean she's suddenly worthy of your time again. Regret is not the same as transformation. Regret is just her ego being bruised by loss. Regret is her realizing she made a mistake. But transformation, that's different. That's her actually becoming a different person who can appreciate you in the moment. Not just in hindsight. Most women who reach back out after these realizations, they're reaching out because they miss the feeling you gave them. They miss the stability, the security, the consistency. But they haven't done the work to become the kind of woman who actually values those things in real time. They just want to feel better. They want to fill the void. And if you go back, chances are the pattern repeats. Here's the controversial truth. Her regret is her problem, not yours. Your job isn't to be available whenever she finally figures out what she lost. Your job is to keep moving forward, to keep building your life. To keep becoming the kind of man who doesn't wait around for people who didn't choose him the first time. Because here's what really matters. If she realizes you were a good man and you've already moved on, that's not a loss for you. That's confirmation. That's proof that your value was real. And she missed it. And whether she comes back or not is irrelevant because you're already too far ahead to look back. So here's what I want to know. Which of these four moments do you think hits women the hardest? Is it seeing you thrive? The comparison trap? The crisis moment? Or the milestones? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you've been through this, if you've had a woman come back after taking you for granted, tell me what happened. Did she reach out during one of these moments? Did you take her back? How did it go? I read every single comment because I want to understand your experiences. This channel isn't just about me explaining psychology, it's about us figuring out these patterns together, so you're never blindsided again. Because here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about one woman who didn't appreciate you. This is about you understanding your value so clearly that you never settle for being taken for granted again. This is about you building a life so solid that whether she realizes what she lost or not becomes irrelevant to your path forward. You were the good man. Whether she saw it at the time or realizes it later, doesn't change that fact. Keep moving forward. Keep building. And let her regret be her lesson, not your burden.